In this part of the training, we explore another way the body reveals how people process information internally. Small movements of the eyes can provide clues about how the mind is organizing thought. In Neuro Linguistic Programming, NLP, these patterns are known as eye accessing cues. When people recall memories, imagine new ideas, or reflect internally, their eyes often move in specific directions. These movements are not something you analyze rigidly. Instead, they provide subtle signals that can complement other forms of calibration, such as language patterns and body language. When used carefully, eye-accessing cues can give additional insight into how someone is thinking. When people think, their eyes often move slightly as they access information internally. These movements can happen very quickly. A person might look upward, sideways, or downward while recalling a memory or constructing an idea. These movements reflect the brain activating different types of internal processing. The key is simple observation. By noticing patterns over time, you can gain clues about how someone is organizing their thoughts. Eye movements are not definitive proof of what someone is thinking, but they often provide useful information. When people access visual information, their eyes often move upward. If someone is recalling a memory they have already seen, this is known as visual recall. For example, remembering the appearance of a familiar place. If they are imagining something new that they have never seen before, this is known as visual construction. An example might be imagining how a room would look if it were redesigned. When observing eye movement, remember the direction refers to the subject's perspective. When their eyes move upward to their left, which appears to your right, they are typically accessing a visual memory. When their eyes move upward to their right, which appears to your left, the mind is usually constructing a new visual image. Observing this pattern can help you understand how they are processing images. When someone processes auditory information, their eyes often move horizontally. Auditory recall occurs when a person remembers a sound they have heard before. For example, recalling the voice of a friend or a familiar song. Auditory construction occurs when a person imagines a sound that has not yet occurred. They might imagine how someone might respond in a conversation. These eye movements suggest the person is accessing internal sound or language. When their eyes move horizontally to their left, which appears to your right when you are facing them, they are typically recalling an auditory memory. When their eyes move horizontally to their right, which appears to your left, the mind is usually constructing a new sound internally. Recognizing this pattern can help you understand how they are processing sounds. Eye movement can also reveal when the mind is accessing physical sensations or emotional feelings. In this case, the movement is downward. When a person's eyes move downward to their right, which appears to your left when you are facing them, they are typically accessing a kinesthetic memory. This means the mind is recalling how something physically or emotionally felt. Kinesthetic processing often involves bodily awareness, emotional experience, and sensory feelings connected to events. When you observe this downward movement, it can indicate the person is reconnecting with the sensations or emotions associated with a past experience. Because kinesthetic processing involves internal sensation, people often pause slightly during this process. The downward gaze reflects attention turning inward toward feeling rather than imagery or sound. Another pattern sometimes appears when someone is engaging in internal dialogue. Internal dialogue is the voice inside our mind that helps organize thoughts, compare ideas, and form decisions. When you observe this downward movement, it can suggest that the person is processing information through logical or analytical thinking. This occurs when the eyes move downward to their left, which appears to your right when you are facing them. In this position, the person may appear to be speaking silently inside their mind. They may pause briefly while considering what to say next. Recognizing this pattern helps you understand when someone is evaluating information internally. In addition to directional eye movement, several other signals can appear during internal processing. Pupil dilation sometimes occurs when a person becomes mentally engaged. Saccades, which are rapid small eye movements, may appear when someone searches internally for information. Blink rate can increase during stress or concentration. Another signal is the unfocused gaze, when someone appears to stare into space while thinking. All of these signals provide additional clues about what the mind may be doing internally. From a spiritual perspective, communication involves both the outer world of words and the inner world of thought. Eye movements remind us that much of human experience happens internally. By observing these subtle signals, we become more aware of how people think and reflect. This awareness encourages patience and understanding. Rather than rushing to conclusions, we learn to observe carefully. Conscious presence deepens communication because it allows us to respond with greater awareness. To practice recognizing eye-accessing cues, begin with simple observation. During conversations, notice how people move their eyes while thinking. Look for patterns when they recall memories or imagine possibilities. Do not attempt to analyze every movement immediately. Instead, observe patterns over time. This exercise strengthens awareness and helps you recognize how eye movements relate to internal processing. In this part of the series, we explored eye-accessing cues. Eye movements can provide subtle clues about how someone is processing information internally. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and internal dialogue patterns may appear through different directions of eye movement. The eye movement patterns described here are those most commonly observed in right-handed individuals. In left-handed people, these directions are often reversed. In other words, the same mental processes may appear on the opposite side of the visual field. Because of this, eye-accessing cues should always be treated as observational indicators, rather than absolute rules. And it is important to watch for each individual's natural pattern during conversation. These signals are most useful when combined with other calibration skills, such as language patterns and body language. Together, they provide a deeper understanding of communication. In the next part of the series, we move into conversational influence, beginning with language patterns that guide attention and meaning. If you found this training helpful, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next part in the series. And be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn and Facebook using the links provided in the video description below. I'll see you in Part 9, Language Patterns.